Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talk Live. My name is Kristen Gastaldo. I'm the Director of Self-Service and Community for IFS. Today, I'll be your host. For those of you who may not have attended a Tech Talk Live before, these are 1-hour deep dive sessions into a specific topic. They're part of our Success Session series, which includes the Lunch and Learns office hours that hopefully some of you have attended in the past. Today, we are joined by Lakmali Devage from R&D and Minoshini Fonseka from our Global Support Organization. Hopefully, you were able to attend their last session around Arena page configurations. That's available on the community if you weren't able to catch it. Thank you both for joining us today. I'm going to hold all these questions that you may have until the end, but go ahead and post them in the question section as you have them, and I'll read them out to, at the end. So if you guys want to go ahead, take it away. Lakmali, I think you're on mute still. Oh no.
Am I audible now, Kristen?
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry for the glitch. So thank you very much for the introduction, Kristen, and a warm welcome to everyone who joins the session today. So I am Lakmali Devage. I work as a program manager in IFS R&D in the experience framework, where we built this whole lobby framework. Today I have my colleague Minoshini Fonseka with me, so who works as a lead software engineer for IFS. Together, we will give you an introduction into the lobby concept in IFS Cloud. Okay, so here is the agenda for today's session. I'll start the session with an overview of the whole lobby concept, and then we will dig deep into each of the components here. There will be, as Christine mentioned, there will be a Q&A time at the end of the presentation, so where we will take your questions. All right, so let's get started. So what is a lobby? A lobby is a special kind of a page that you would see in Arena, where you are presented with lots of information, but in a highly visual manner. If we can, yes, here you can see one of the examples. You have images there, some counters with different formatting, some links, and we have another example for you that of another lobby page that you would see. Now here you can see you have some different elements. There are some graphs, some counters, list, links, so and so. So all these lobby pages is what you see when you log into the application. These lobby pages retrieve data from all over the IFS cloud and from external sources also, and then present it in a high level or more or less overview to the user, to give an overview of what is happening in the application or in your business, to focus you on what is important at the moment. In the next slide, this whole lobby concept was introduced to provide an at-a-glance view of information in IFS Cloud. So it can be configured for a specific user or a specific user role, process maybe, anything as you wish. Business applications like IFS Cloud are inherently complex. So be it a casual user or a professional user who logs into the application to perform a limited set of daily tasks, IFS lobbies can help you to make things simple and focused and comprehensible for the end user. So our customers can build lobby pages by grouping most important things together and tailor it for a specific user or a process as such. And then it will provide quite nice guidance for these users because they have all their important things in one place. So you straight away you would know what are the things that you need to be attending to, what are the most important pieces of information that you need to be looking for, rather than navigating all around the application and querying for these things. You will have all of those in one place, in one page. I mentioned earlier that lobbies can be configured for a business process. So once done so, a user can straight away spot on any problematic scenario or an exception that they need to be attending to. Not to skip the increase in productivity with lobbies, as I mentioned earlier, lobbies can be configured for a specific user or a user role. So most of the times, these are the first of pages that you would see when you log into the application. So as soon as you log into the application, you would see an overview of all the information that you need to be seeing, with all the important things that you need to be attending to, things that you should be focused to. So it brings you close to your business, close to the things that you need to focus to. Not to skip that, these lobbies are designed to be highly responsive. So be it the mobile phone or a tablet or a desktop, wherever you have access to the IFS cloud, you will be able to get these benefits from IFS lobbies. So now you know why do we have these lobbies, then let's see how it works. When we talk about lobbies, we usually hear terms like lobby pages, elements, data sources, etc. So this is a simple picture of how all these things fall into place. A lobby page is what an end user would see. It is made up of pre-formatted data blocks that we call as lobby elements. So a page can contain one or more lobby elements. And when we talk about elements available in IFS Cloud, there is a bunch of elements that you can select from: counters, lists, different types of graphs, and different types of BI elements. So and so, there are lots of elements that you can choose to create a lobby page. Only thing to notice that whatever the element that you select to be placed in your lobby page, it can only show the data that is coming from the data source that it is mapped to. So what is the data source in that case? Lobby data sources is just another layer of abstraction on the data that you already have in IFS Cloud. So in this example here, you see SQL data sources. So a SQL data source means SQL statement selecting data from the cloud database. So you can feed that to one or many lobby elements that you would see in a lobby page. Right now in IFS Cloud, we only have SQL data sources supported, but in the upcoming releases of IFS Cloud, there are a few more different types of data sources that are lined up to be enabled. So now you will know how these basic components of lobby work together. So you have lobby pages, elements, and data sources. So you get from the cloud data into a data source, and then you plug it into elements. The lobby functionality in IFS Cloud does not only include lobby pages, it also includes the tools to create them. So there is no need to go outside IFS Cloud and build these nice lobby pages for you. You have all the tools built into IFS Cloud, and with them, you can straight away create lobby pages. And as soon as you create the lobby pages, it's straight away available for the consumption. So to create lobby data sources, we have a tool called Data Source Designer. And the data sources created with the data source designer are consumed by lobby elements. So it can be a one element for a data source, or it can be more than one element. So all these elements are configured using the element designer. And once you have created all these elements, you can group all these things in a meaningful way into a lobby page. So to do that, we have the lobby page designer. So these three are the main tools that we have built into IFS Cloud so that you could create lobby pages from the scratch. So you have the capability to create the data source, then map that to elements, and then create lobby pages. So once you save the lobby page itself, then you can use it straight away. So this brings to the end of the basic overview part. I hope you got an idea what is a lobby, why do we have these lobbies, and how it is made up of. So let's dig deep into each of these concepts. So I hand over to you, Minoshini, to continue with rest of the demonstrations.
Yeah, thank you, Lakmali. Now you know about the relationship among the data sources, elements, and the lobby pages. So let me explain this from the application. First, I will show how the data source is used in an element. The Used In button at the top of the page will indicate the number of elements which uses this data source and provide an overview of those elements upon clicking on it. So let's have a look at. This data source is used in two elements. If we click there, we will be navigate to the Aurena element. So now let's have a look at how an element is used in a lobby page. From here also, we can see this Used In button. And this will indicate the number of pages which uses this element. Now we are in the element called Open Projects. So let's see how it is used. So it is used in a lobby page called Customer 360. And here is the Open Project element. Now let's have a quick recap. First, we use Data Source Designer to create data source. Secondly, we use Element Designer to create the element based on data source. Thirdly, we use elements to create lobby page via Lobby Page Designer. Finally, we get to see this output. So this is how lobbies are organized. In CloudTrack also, the lobbies are found in Solution Manager. If we go to the navigator from the Solution Manager, we will go to the configuration and then we can find lobby. To come to this point, you will have to have some projection grounds in terms of lobby designer security. They are lobby configuration, lobby data source configuration, and lobby element configuration. So please verify whether these projections are granted to the user from which you have logged to the application, because these are needed to open the designers, view metadata in lobby items, and to do the CRUD operations on lobby items. All right, now I would like to draw your attention to this data source designer. I will go to this designer. Here, let's see this SQL data source. All the existing SQL data sources are listed in the data source browser. If we select a data source from data source browser, it will be loaded to this data source designer as well. So we can load it to the designer. And also we have the option to search. So from find data sources. So I'm searching a data source called Customer 360 related. Yes, we can search like this. Users can have any table or view in the database and execute any query through Data Source Designer. Therefore, a system privilege called Lobby Data Source Designer has been implemented on Data Source Designer as an extra layer of protection from unauthorized users. So we need this system privilege to create, edit, delete data sources and to preview the data. Now I will show how to create a data source with a simple example. So we'll go to the data source designer, create new. First, we need to provide the name and we will define the view from which we will fetch the data. And then we will put any conditions under this where clause. And we could also make use of order by, group by if we want to order or group data respectively. Normally in SQL data source, we define data and columns. Now we have already defined data part. Now let's see how to define columns. We go to this view columns and then a column chooser will appear. From here, we can select the required columns to be used for the data source. Afterwards, we can preview. So in CloudTrack, we got around preview capability up to 25 records. And at the end, we have to set the component. Optionally, we could provide keywords or descriptive text according to your preference. So this is simply how to create a data source. Now, let's think that we came across a requirement where we would like to provide inputs as parameters for the data source. So we will try such an example with parameters. Here, I will explain a scenario. In the data source, I want to get customer orders, but I want to see this data based on site and customer. Let's say I want to view customer orders for site number 1, but at another point, I want to see the customer orders for a different site. So this source should be able to accept parameters. So we take site and customer as input parameters here. Let's see how to create this data source with such a requirement. First, let's fill the data part first. In here, the name is given. And the view. As the parameters, we will pass site and customer. That could be done easily by appending this $sign for the conditions in the where clause. Here for the site, we will need to pass parameters. But for the customer, we have used this NVL function. So according to the way it is defined here, even if we pass null, it fetches all the customers. So when we pass parameters, we could try out different ways. From this example, I will show how differently we could define columns. we can define columns not only from the column chooser, but also from this Add button. When we add columns from column chooser, the data type and rest of the information will fetch correctly. However, when we define columns manually, we have to be accurate on methods and data types we add. So based on your requirement, you will be able to define columns like this. Now, yes, we have completed column part. Now let's preview. When we preview data, you will see that we get site and customer. For the site, we will need to pass a parameter, but for the customer, it is not necessary because we have used that NVL function. So we'll pass the value, click OK, and let's preview. So now you can get an idea how to add these page parameters. So at the end, we will provide the component name. So actually, this is explain the customer orders ready to deliver according to the query we have used. So we will save this. Now let's move on to the element designer. From the element designer, we can create different types of elements. Counter, list, matrix, pie chart, linked list, stage gauge, analog gauge, bar chart, line chart, image or text, image, and if we have Power BI integration, Power BI reports elements as well. So you notice there are many types of elements we could create. Now let's see an example of creating a list element. To begin with, let's go to the element designer and we will select the type as list. We need to add the name and for the element layout and the title as well. So this is the title which is going to be displayed on the element. Then we can adjust the width, height, and color style. Now, this is the time to introduce this data source to the element designer. So we will add the data source from here and we can provide refresh interval in seconds and we can select this column chooser. You know, in data source designer, we were given a chance to select columns and also here we can select the columns in this way. So I will select few of the columns here and let's preview. Do we get to see any values? No. It's because we are using a data source which is using page parameters. So we will need to provide parameters here. So we will pass values and then let's preview. Yeah, we got the data. And for the further formatting, we could add show column headers. Yes, now we got them and we could transpose as well. And conditional formatting is also available. So here is one example. So I will select weight. So for this example, I will take if the weight is greater than 500. So let's see. We will format to bold and to critical red color. Yes, we got that conditional formatting as well. At the end, we will provide the component and any information related to the element. Now let's preview. Yes, all good to save. So in here, I'm going to show how to create a bar chart element. So first of all, let's see what sort of a data source I'm going to use. I think it's more comprehensible if I preview data here. We are going to use data related to representative, stage, and number of leads. With this data, let's see how to create this bar chart. We'll go to this element designer, then select the type as bar chart, and we will provide the data related to the element layout. Name and a suitable title would work for this. And now let's try to add the data source. Yeah, this is a bar chart. So we need x-axis and y-axis. So out of all these columns, I will select representative name as the x-axis and the number of leads as y-axis. Now let's preview. So let's see whether we could further format this bar chart. Yeah, we can provide titles here. We'll go to the titles and we could provide the values to that to be displayed on this element. Now let's think that we got a requirement to create a multi-series bar chart. So let's see whether we have such an option. Yes, we got this use multi-series, and here we can see there are two options: series based on columns and series based on values in a column. So I will go ahead with this option. And here I will split the data based on stage column. Yes, all good. Let's preview. Yeah, when we preview, we will be able to see a very compelling visualization. So at this point, we will see what kind of data we can see. So this Alain Frost representative has 4 leads at the initial stage. So likewise, you can get a good idea about this bar chart. So this graphical interpretation helps the users to grab the information at once. So this is one of the aspects we expect from lobbies. So at the end, we will go to the information section and add the component, and we will provide the rest of the information if needed. And we will save this thing. Now let's move on to another interesting graphical interpretation. So this will be a pie chart element. Again, I will show the data source, so that will be easy to understand. So here, from here, I will explain there are two columns like document responsible signature and the count. If we go to the element designer, we'll select pie chart and we will provide the element layout information. For the data, let's add this data source. So I will group on based on document responsible signature, and for the value from, I select the count. So this is how this pie chart is created. Now it's time to preview. Let's go to the preview. And from here also you can see there's a representation for others as well. It's because we have checked show others. So we will finalize this element with document and the rest of the information. So at the end, we will be able to see this pie chart with the legend. Now we have come to this lobby page. So I will show how to add an element to a lobby page from a very simple example. First, I will show this data source. According to this data source, this will show all the sites based on the company. The company will be used as page parameter, and once we pass a value like 50, we can see the data related to that company. Now let's see the element. So this element name is sites available. So this is a counter element. This will take an aggregate value of contracts, the count of the contracts. Now we have an element. Now let's see how this element could be added to a lobby page. Yes, we are in the lobby overview page. So here we could find all the lobbies in the environment, and you can see there is this new. So from here we can add new pages. So let's go ahead. For the page title, we can add the name for the lobby page. And for the component, it is mandatory, so we have to provide that. And let's save this thing. Now we are in this lobby page configuration page. On the left hand side, you can see this element browser from where we could choose elements. And also we can see the add group and add separator. So according to your preference, you can make use of these options as well when you're creating your lobby pages. To add an element, all you have to do is just find that lobby page and drag it to the page we want to have it. So we'll go for the element. So yeah, site available is there. It's there in this ACH demo page now. Afterwards, you can save this thing. Now you can see just next to the page title, there is a page parameter. So in there, if we click there, a pop-up will appear. We have to provide the value for the company. Click apply. We got a different value. So for the company 10, yes, 19 sites. So this is how page parameters comes into the play. When it comes to the Aurena client in cloud environment, lobby navigation would be slightly different than what we had in IE client. So before we jump into the lobby navigations, let's refresh our knowledge on projections, client files, and pages. Aurena client file is the main entry point that defines pages, elements, data bindings to the projection it uses. The projection file exposes data via entity sets, functionality via functions and actions. The projection file may be used by multiple client files, but a given client file can use only one projection. So in this example, customer orders client file is used in a projection called customer order handling. A particular client file may contain multiple pages of different kinds like list, forms, etc. So when you need to access to a particular Aurena page, the URL points to a specific client file and the page name. When we talk about lobbies now, from an element we can navigate to Aurena page. Then the result can be further filtered out based on page parameters, data values, and context substitution variables. So let's check that out. In the previous lobby page we created, there were page parameters. We will see how to navigate to an Aurena page based on page parameter value. First, I will explain this navigation URL. Here we go to the site's overview page and we filter data based on company, and we pass the page parameter in this way. When we click on an element, if there are no navigations are defined, nothing happens. So if you want to define navigations, we have to go to the element. So let's go to the element of this sites available from the element designer. This navigation is added in this navigation section of this element designer, and we can edit the URL address. So I will provide that URL which is explained previously. And we can preview. It is also possible to test navigation from the element preview as well. So let's try that out as well. So let's click here. We are now navigated to the sites page with the data filtered upon company 50. So 50 is the page parameter. Now let's see how it looks like from a lobby page actually. So from the page, we enter 50 as the company. Click on the element. We are now directed to the sites page, filtered upon company 50. Now, we can further filter out data using corresponding value from the data source used in the element. Here we will see this navigation URL. According to this URL, we are navigated to Person Qualification Certificates page, and we will filter data based on license name. And this is how we pass this data value license name. Since we mentioned something about data source, we will check this from here. In the data source, there is a column called license name. And let's preview. If I explain one of the previewed results, we can see that PE license is assigned for one person. Now, let's go to the element now. Let's see how it is configured. So here, this is filtered upon the license name. We will preview this. If we click on PE certificate, let's see the result. We are directed to the Aurena page based on the license we have selected. So from the URL also, we can confirm that we are on the right page. For the navigation, lastly, I will show how to filter out data based on context substitution variables. Before moving on, I will explain this URL. So here it will explain that we are going to the customer's page and the value will be filtered upon start of this year for the creation date. So now you can see there is an operator called GE, which is which stands for greater than or equal. And if you refer our F1 documentation, you can see there are comparison operators, logical operators, string functions like this. So I will come back to this example. Here we are going to preview the customers who are created during this year. And if we go to the element as well, it will confirm the same result. So we'll go to this navigation. This is how it is defined. So since I'm showing an example of CSV, I would like to share this tip with you. When you're working with CSV values for dates, so please make sure to use proper data types, because there are some dates belongs to date type and some belongs to date time. So in case if you refer a value for date time type for a CSV value like today, so there will be issues. So we have to be very careful to map the correct data type. So if we preview this, we can see we are directed to the correct page. So from the URL, it is also confirmed, and from the search as well. Now let's talk about lobby translations. There is a built-in tool for handling lobby translations, and we can translate elements and pages. To launch the translation tool, there is a button called Translate in the Element Designer. The same button can be found in Page Properties Configuration dialog as well. So here I will show how to translate a title of this element. The translations happen in two steps. First thing is scanning element or page. So we save that thing. Secondly, we write the data, write the translations. So we can view the text translations as well. Additionally, we have to remember that once we add a new text or an element to a page, we have to rescan the element or the page. So this is how it looks like if we log into the application from Swedish language. When it comes to the security, we have already covered the lobby designer security and the special system privilege called lobby data source designer. So here I will touch the runtime security. It is mainly based on presentation objects. A lobby overview shows only the granted pages for the user. When a user opens a lobby page, the relevant data source is not granted in case for a particular element a cross sign is displayed on the element of the lobby page. Here comes the handy tip. This is about a system parameter called permission set to be granted lobby presentation objects by default. So if I explain you in simple words, there is a system parameter where we could define permission set. So whenever we create a lobby item, the relevant presentation objects for the lobby item will get granted to the permission set by default. So for this to happen, we have to define this system parameter. So to explain, I will quickly create a data source for you. Actually, this function is very useful for the end users who do not have privileges like app owner. If we go to that presentation object, we can confirm this behavior. Yeah, Now let's talk about the installation and reconfiguration process. Every time the installer is run, lobby item that ship with IFS Cloud will be redeployed and overwritten. So if you need any configuration changes on any lobby item that was included with IFS Cloud, be sure to create a copy of that item and do the necessary configuration changes on the newly copied item. Data sources, elements, and lobby pages all have import and export functionality. So here I will show how to export a lobby page. You will see the export page function here, and that can be exported as a full format or a zip file. And if I extract here, we could see data sources, elements, and pages. When it comes to the import in lobby page, it could be accomplished from lobby overview page as well. So this is about lobby analyzer. Sometimes you may be already aware of this tool. So I've briefly touched this. When we have updates, it's good to check the impact of your own lobby data sources implemented using core views or APIs. So this will help you to impact analysis, do the impact analysis to identify such compatibility issues. So this tool is available in developer portal, and configurations and required steps are included in F1 documentation and the tool itself. But I will quickly run through these basic steps of running this one. So for the step 1, we have to update the lobby regression tester.cmd with your host and seed and the credentials. For the second step, we have to execute that lobby regression tester.cmd file. IFS Lobby Analyzer will scan all the lobby data sources installed in the database. It will formulate SQL query based on views, columns, where conditions, order by, group by clauses in the data source. And the result will be shown in the result.xml. The execution errors will be listed validation errors for further analysis. So in fact, users can run Lobby Analyzer along with the Update Analyzer as a part of the impact analysis. So with this, I will conclude the session with the tech talk. So let's go to the Q&A session now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We've had lots of comments in the chat. Mostly they are, this is amazing. Can I please watch this again later? So we are recording this session and I will be posting it in the community later today. You should get an automated email from GoToWebinar that will let you access that. But we do have just a couple technical questions that you guys can address. Someone has asked, is a stacked bar chart available? And that was about halfway into the presentation, so I'm not sure if that makes sense at the context now.
Stat.
In reporting, is a bar chart available? This is the only problem with asking questions at the end that may have been asked in the middle. What I can do is I'll reach out to the presenter and see if we can get a little bit more, the asker, and see if we can get a little more detail what she's looking for. The other question was, could IFS IEE lobby page be imported into Arena?
Not actually. That is not possible, but because we define the Arena, if they are asking the question for apps 10, there are two types and we have to define them separately. But in Cloud Track, the IE not available.
Okay. Let's see if we have any more. How do I know which component to choose while creating a data source?
That will be based on your view you add to the when designing the data source.
Okay. Do lobby queries have an impact on Oracle CPU usage?
Oracle CPU usage, there are some performance guidelines provided by IFS. So it is recommended to have a very perfect query for the lobbies to use.
Okay. If anyone else has questions, you can post them in the community and we can ask them there and answer them there. I will have this recording up later today, and then you should get an email with the link to that. That's it for the moment. Thank you guys all for coming to the event. We're trying to do these sessions at least once a month, generally every 2 weeks. The next one will be on February 11th, where we're hosting an office hours about achieving business outcomes with the digital business value. So I hope you can attend that one. It's listed in the community under events. And once again, thank you guys for coming. If you have suggestions for what you'd like us to cover in these sessions, we'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. Thank you, ladies, very much for your presentation. That was awesome.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.